Hey folks, this is Shuff coming at you. Everybody wants to know a little bit about what happened at the shooting. Me and my brother are former Marine, and we were in the Army together as military policemen. We've both been contractors. We basically made our living doing this shit since we were 17. You're what, 51 now, Georgios?
Yeah, pretty much.
And I'm gonna be 49.
So we came together today, and we're going to cover some of the technical aspects of the shooting that are inconsistent with our experiences that we've seen out in the in theater. And the first thing I want to point out is if you do a basic Pythagorean theorem from the elevation that he was at to the stage where he hit people and to the distance covered, he was shooting at an elevation 379 yards. The kill box on the short end was 465 yards to the stage, and if you then use a Pythagorean theorem, it gets to 481 yards from the window opening to the stage. Now,
the cone of fire.
in the cone of fire. Now, if you go past the stage, it goes to 511, 512, and some little bit further. So our question is, you're talking about having to hold a weapon because the news is saying that all the weapons were bump fire. You're having to hold a weapon in an upright position for firing 30 rounds, and a guy that's 64 years old, not trained, not an operator, no military training, no law enforcement training, no prior paramilitary training from that we've gathered.
Yes.
And he's holding a bump fire weapon at night with shooter's mirage, and which is basically the gas is coming up from the firing, and you have what's called a shooter's cone, which is the noise and the gas that surrounds you when you start putting rounds down range. And he is firing 600 yards.
Yeah.
At a total, so on the high end they've said 600 yards out, on the low end 450, with 600 to 700 rounds, and he changed weapons, bump fired, changed magazines, changed weapons, and did all of that in 11 minutes. That's not very consistent with operational tempo.
It can't be done. Plus, you think about he had to run out of his room because of the hallway. The other window was not connected. They make it sound like it was a big ass area, but it did have a wall dividing, and it wasn't an interconnecting. It was a separate room, and so that means he's running from one room to another. Also, the whole shit about him putting up his own cameras. Well, anybody who's been to Vegas knows you don't put up your own cameras. There's cameras everywhere in those fucking hotels. And if they saw you putting up your own cameras, first thing they're thinking is you're trying to defraud the casino.
And let's step on the defraud thing. And this is actual defraud 101. He filed a lawsuit against the casino for a slip and fall.
Yeah.
Now, if under whatever law that you want to apply to that, if you've sued me adversarially, I don't have to give you right to access into a casino.
Yeah.
So he filed, because casinos, you can bar people for numerous reasons, but if it's a slip and fall fraud, they let him into a casino. The casinos have facial recognition.
Yes, they do.
So obviously somewhere somebody had to see Mr. Paddock and go, wait a second, this guy filed a fake slip and fall. Why are we letting him in?
Exactly.
And here's the thing. The casino, if you just go on, whether you went on Priceline, hotels.com, the casino this is that week and had what, a 99% occupancy fill. So it's going to be difficult to get, not only to get a room on the 32nd floor, but to get a room facing the concert. They gave you that. That's an inconsistency. Now, we're not filling the conspiracy theories with, for example, that, how did he get 11 carts 11 suitcases up. Yeah, you get a bellhop, you get a suitcase.
A couple bellhops.
A couple bellhops.
Yeah.
You give a guy $20. That's not a conspiracy
That's
theory. Did he have money? Of course he did. You know, can you
He had a
afford?
20-year winning streak in Vegas.
Right.
Imagine that. 20 years winning streak, and you're still a multimillionaire? Come on, give me a break.
Well,
folks.
there's been a
Money's
few
coming
people
from
that
there.
have done that. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you've got some poker players that have done it.
Yeah.
Michalak has done it.
Right.
So that's not an inconsistency. How did you get the stuff up there? Fine, you paid
No.
a bellhop. So we're not saying that that's
The
a
funding is an inconsistency.
it's not. That's not an inconsistency. Here's another inconsistency. Me and you have been on, let's say, death scenes before.
Right.
So the premise was, because of the picture that they showed, is that he took a weapon. Let's just use this. He pointed it in his mouth like this because the blood spatter is consistent with
Yep.
committing suicide like this.
Through the mouth.
So if you fall back, you know, usually two things happen. If you shoot yourself in the mouth, you separate the hippocampus, the oblongata, and the brainstem. So if you happen there, when it's happened, your body's going to seize,
Yep.
and you're going to fall backwards. That's consistent. That is a very consistent act. What is inconsistent is that the picture of the 38 special that they see
Yep.
is 3 feet behind him. If you're falling backwards like this, the gun isn't going to go like this. It's either going to go here, or maybe, and this is another one, it falls to your side,
Maybe.
not behind you. That's an inconsistency. Now, when we're trained, we look at things, we say, that doesn't look right. We're not, now, you can fill in with, you know, some of the things that, as a prior, you know, federal investigator and say, hey, look, that's a, you know, maybe that's, you know, conspiracy, but from a technical, you know, we're looking at it from a technical standpoint. Here's the next point. In the videos that you're seeing, the sound echo is people are saying, well, there isn't two shooters. It was, you know, you're just hearing an echo. Okay, then that echo is inconsistent with the weapons that they've showed the pictures of.
Right.
That's
the
where
key.
That's the key. We're not saying, and again, let's point this out, that if you're saying to us, okay, there wasn't a second shooter, the lower window was a disco ball or something from a club that
Which is bullshit.
which could be, okay, fine, but here's the thing: the sound echo, and when you layer it against, you know, known weapon systems, it doesn't look like the weapons that are in the room.
No. Unless all the ARs were AR-10s, which is a 308. The sound signature, look, it's hard to tell with any recording device what a sound signature is, but there is a cadence to every fucking weapon. Anybody who's fired a 5.56, I don't care if it's a fucking minigun, it sounds different than a 308.
Right.
And the speed is, I'll give you an example. Some idiot said, I saw this online, it was a 50 cal. A 50 cal is bop, 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 bop. That's about the cadence of a 50 cal.
And let's also remember, with a 50 cal, a 308, 223, you have muscle velocity and muscle energy. So here's the thing: the muscle velocity of different weapons also dictate what the muzzle flash is.
Oh yeah.
So
how much gas escapes? Muzzle flash, for the people that don't understand, is the gas after the propellant has after the projectile has left. The propellant's gases are still expanding, so you'll have a different plume in length depending on what you're shooting.
And here's another inconsistency. There's a video. There's multiple videos from the actual crowd when you see where they're pointing at the window.
Yep.
And the crack is inconsistent with the sound, you know, with the impact cone being at the window.
Right.
So, for example, if you hear gunshots, they're shooting. If you hear a whiz bang, they're shooting at you. So that is a consistent. that is a consistent action.
All bullets, unless they're subsonic, will do what we call a towel snap. It sounds like a towel snap as it goes over. That's what you're hearing in the video when you hear the, and then all of a sudden you hear the bop, 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 bop. That's the difference. Even though that's why people were saying 2 shooters is bullshit. Look, I'm sorry. I'm not Superman. We've been doing this a long time.
We both enlisted in the Marine Corps. You enlisted in the Army at 17. I enlisted in the Marine Corps at 17.
Yep. And
we've been doing this a while.
I crossed into the Marine Corps when he got out and went into the Army. And then we met back up in the fucking Guard, in the National Guard, for our state. So here's the thing that
we both shot.
We both have shot competitive.
Yeah.
I used to shoot during the Soldier of Fortune fucking 3-gun matches when they were real.
And with the Vegas. And here's the other thing. Look at how many times in the Soldier of Fortune, let's just use those. How many times have you saw guys running, doing the 3-gun competition where all your 50 rounds, that's it. And that was the original, for those of you that aren't old enough to remember, the Soldier of Fortune 3-gun shoots were 50 rounds total.
Yep.
They weren't, and you saw guys shooting 50 rounds because it was 12 in the shotgun, 1 magazine, and then
which is the rifle or pistol,
and it was 10 rounds.
Yeah.
So those were 50. You had 50 rounds, and there were guys out of breath after shooting 50 rounds that were trained operatives because they had. Back then, and let's just look at in 1990, they sent they had a Leo class, they had a military class, and they had a civilian class. And so there are guys that ran through there with 30, with 50 rounds because, like I said, you were limited to, you had 10 rounds, 2 magazines for your AR, and your shotgun was 2 6-rounds. Yeah, and then you had the pistol. You had to have so you had 2 changes per weapon.
You could, dependently on the situation, for various
but they had table A, table A and table B. Yeah. But here's the thing: you had guys out of breath that trained for this for months, and you're saying to a guy he fired 600 rounds at an age where most people are,
coming down. Yeah, they're not in shape anymore. We're not in the perfect shape. I'm going to be 49.
I'm 51. And I still train.
We still train. But the thing is, we would have a hard time pulling this fucking shit off. And
those are the and that's the inconsistency that we're being fed. And also, let's remember this too. What we're asking law enforcement is the same thing that a lot of other people release more information, bring it to light, say this is the storyboard. Let's storyboard this because there's holes that need to be filled.
But there has been information leaked, but people don't like the sources of this information.
Right. But let's point out the Versace shooting in 1997.
Right.
Let's just use this as an example. 1977, Andrew Cunanan or
Cunanan. Yeah. He was a Dago, just like I'm a half Dago.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
So he shot Versace in Florida.
Yeah.
And the police waited 2 days before saying, they said, well, the houseboat was empty.
Right.
And they waited 2 days before saying that they lied about the houseboat.
Right.
So the paparazzi and all them wouldn't, they
wouldn't swarm.
They wouldn't swarm.
Yeah.
So here's the couple things that need to happen. One is you need to release more crime scene pictures.
The feds have already grabbed them.
Right.
Those crime scene pictures were actually, I know where they came from. That's all I'm going to say.
Right.
They were illegally gotten.
And that's fine. But here's the thing. Where's the brass?
Well, it's all around his head according to the pictures, right?
Right. Not 600 rounds.
I know. You know what I'm saying.
I know. We've had, here I'm going to point this out for a second. When I was at Camp Pendleton, one of the things we had to do was police call Edson Range.
Yeah.
And each unit had its own. Each unit had a responsibility to police call in Edson Range, even after you went and the whatever unit had to qualify that week. So
you'd have to pick up after their asses.
After them. even after their police call, we would go and police call, and then we'd find 5, maybe 600, 700 rounds
that weren't ours because they were already starting to get their little oxidation to them.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'd have to rake. There was nothing like raking rocks to, you know. So we used to find ammo left over even after they shot, and there was a lot more ammo there than were in the pictures, and it just, that's an inconsistency.
Yeah.
And so when you have inconsistencies, it's hard to believe a story.
And that's because the storyline is fraudulent. Georgios, this is where we diverge. I have my sources and my information. He has his, and his is factual. He wants to go by the facts. My sources, I don't know. What I will tell you, and this is fact, but they're from my sources. The other inconsistencies, while he has said that, and Georgios has said this, and I believe that he believes this, and I want to make this very clear. I don't want to put him in my banquet.
Your rabbit hole.
My rabbit hole.
Let's just use that, brother. And again, here's the thing. I'm looking at this from having, both of us went to Fort McClellan, Alabama. Yeah. We went to MP school. We were trained in at least, let's say, how not to contaminate a crime scene.
Exactly.
You know,
and you don't contaminate one with allowing pictures to be taken and taken off the internet, which now everybody knows is corruptible, and including the Las Vegas Police Department, because when those pictures came out, I guarantee you,
right.
Like,
and here's another inconsistency that we're discussing. At every hotel, let's just use things that is readily available to the public. Every hotel has layers of security. Yep. You have the police that are there at all, you know, performing law enforcement duties.
Yep.
You have the security teams that guard the money,
yep,
which are completely different than law enforcement.
Yep.
Then you have the hotel security, which in some places is armed. In most
places they're not.
But in Mandalay they are.
Yeah.
Here's here's an inconsistency that we bring up.
Yeah.
He fired so many rounds that the smoke alarm went off in the room, so you know what room it's at. Why does it take somebody 75 minutes to get to that room,
right,
where you've already signaled that?
When it's an active shooter thing, and all police, supposedly, and Las Vegas LVPD will not like me pointing this out, neither will sheriff.
But they carry M4s.
They carry M4s and stuff. They could have done something. And then you have the security guard that somehow got a wound from engaging the gunfight.
Right.
And that's nonsensical. And then the police say they were the ones who shot. Imagine that one.
That's an inconsistency.
Yeah, there's so many of them. So they didn't respond to an active shooter, number one. Number two, they waited for SWAT. Look, I was a cop federally, and I know how this stuff is trained up. And active shooting training started because of the different. Columbine was the major catalyst. Guess who that was on? Billy Boy Clinton.
And let's point this out. And I want to point something out where me and him are not. You know, we're not saying every active shooter is a conspiracy.
No,
because there's active shooters that we've seen that it just makes sense. Fine, you presented the case. Columbine's an active shooter. You saw Dylan Clayball. There it is.
You got to handle it.
Yeah. There it is. The pictures, the videos, him in the classroom, everything was consistent. That has been the Virginia Tech shooter. Consistent. You know, you saw the magazine changes. You saw the ammo. You know, at the scene, and they were consistent.
Right.
This is inconsistent with active shooters in the past. So we're not saying, and here's the thing, we're not saying that all active shooters or anything that resembles this is always a conspiracy. It's not. It's not.
Look, I'll break it down easier. Look, a conspiracy theory is something you can't prove, but it may have validity, but you can't prove it yet. I will be making another video when this is done because I don't want to bring him into my banquet, as I said. But a conspiracy can be prosecuted because it becomes two people. It only takes two people. And let's say me and George want to build a bologna sandwich. And so we say...
stolen bologna.
With stolen bologna. And we want to build it, and we discuss how to do that bologna sandwich, and we say we're going to apply the mustard this way, we're going to do that. Well, guess what? That conspiracy theory that somebody thought they overheard us say, or thought they saw us do, is a fact if it can be proven. This is going to become a fact when I make my video, because I'm telling you guys, you need to research Eugene Hassenfuss. You need to look up who he was during the Iran-Contra affair, and what he did get shot down and captured in Nicaragua.
And let's also point something out. When the original, and it's a good thing you brought up Iran-Contra, at the first time of Iran-Contra, when Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North testified, and before Poindexter had testified, everybody on the Hill, especially the Senate Armed Forces Committee, was pressuring them to say this is a conspiracy.
That's what they all said.
And it took 5 years into George Bush 41 presidency to convict the rest of them.
Yes.
Even after Reagan had left.
Right.
And then Reagan had took the stand after his presidency was over. And so no one is saying that.
You're not saying.
I'm not saying. This is what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that active shooters, all the active shooters are staged by the deep state. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in this particular instance, in this anecdotal version of an active shooting,
from what you believe is fact, from what you've seen in
these are the inconsistencies.
Media.
Yeah, these are the inconsistencies. And here's the thing: USA Today came out and said you could put a 40 millimeter, grenade launcher underneath an AR-15, which you can.
You can.
And you can explain it why.
Yeah.
Number two, automatic ammo.
Yeah.
There's
no such thing.
When did we miss that in
We
boot
must
camp?
have missed that class.
I was like, wow, automatic ammo.
Fuck, even as a Fed, Fletzy never taught me that.
Yeah,
so,
automatic ammo.
Yeah. Automatic ammo. Damn, that's some sweet shit, bro.
Man,
I need to get that. Just to make
I know. I want to. That in a 40 and a plasma gun in a 40-watt range. I mean, I don't.
Shit, that's some Terminator shit there.
And see, those are the inconsistencies that we point out, because here's what we want. This is what we want. We don't want the fear mongering to go on. Mm-hmm. And let's be honest, we don't want the fear mongering.
Neither of us do.
We don't want it to go on the left. We don't want to go on the right, because here's the thing. If you have fear-mongering and inconsistencies, this is what happens. Your opposition digs in.
Yep.
And once they dig in, you're not going to be able to convince them of any. They're just going to be closed-minded.
Well, we're already there. I mean, fuck George.
Yeah.
You're Greek, which is half black. I'm a Dago, so of course I'm a spaghetti nigger. And honestly,
we really and all of us have become,
we're all Nazis now.
Yeah, we're all Nazis. And here's the thing. You literally, and this is the inconsistency of action that we're trying to point out.
Yeah.
A week ago, you took a knee because you wanted the police, because you wanted to speak out against police brutality. But today, with the gun. But today, you only want the police
to have all
the gun.
the guns.
So that doesn't make
What
any
the
sense.
fuck?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Well, liberalism is a mental disorder, my brother. Look, Michael Savage says that. Michael Weiner, he says that.
And let's point out that here's the thing: we have an inconsistency of action, because when you have a presidential candidate saying that the biggest threat to your biggest threat is the NRA,
right?
And the NRA today came out and said, "Hey, listen, maybe we need to regulate. Maybe we need to take a look at regulating."
Yeah, but everything about this guy, I'm going to go more in depth on.
But he bought the weapons legally.
They were legally purchased, and they said,
and through legal commerce,
and the government
with
said
background
there
checks.
was no reason they would have denied him.
Right.
And that is the thing. See, once they establish that, remember, folks, you guys forget, veterans like me and George, they said we shouldn't be allowed to own a gun. I don't own any guns. Do you own any guns?
Nope.
No, George.
So let's point this out too. he bought them in St. George, Utah, which I think that's the gun store segment.
And it was one of the gun stores that actually did Fast and Furious. Wow. Imagine that under horror.
Yeah. But you know that's again.
My battery's going dead, and I'm going to have to use the force to shut this down. I
But
will give you the final word, my brother.
Let's close on this. When you have inconsistency of action, you have inconsistency of story. You need to fill in the blanks, and that's what we're asking them to do.
And
Simplify.
Simplify. Hoorah.
And to the and here's a toast to the 3 operators who just killed in Niger. Rest in peace, warriors.
Rest in peace, warriors.